She grabbed her attention 2 decades ago as the boy toy, the material girl who loved to shock and awe. Well, now in her mid-40s, Madonna is a married mother of 2. She's even found religion and a new name, Esther. But has Madonna really changed all that much? Here's Sharon Collins.
For 20 years, she's dazzled us. For 20 years, she's puzzled us. Ever the pop chameleon, Madonna has gone from material girl to mystic mom. She's now a married mother of 2, a children's book author, and a devoted follower of a mystical sect called Kabbalah. As if the name Madonna weren't spiritual enough, she's even taken on a new Hebrew name, Esther. And with her latest stage show, the perennial superstar is celebrating more than 2 decades of transformations. Strike a pose. It's called the Reinvention Tour. It's been selling out nationwide, and although this 45-year-old diva has become more domestic over the years, she still knows how to electrify an audience.
Some people found the Reinvention Tour to be her most toned-down show to date, but there are the shocking images in there. There's Madonna being strapped to the electric chair at one point. Madonna's still able to shock people.
And shock people she did, with last year's planned release of her American Life music video. The 4.5-minute clip featured explicit war imagery, graphic casualties, and a fatigue-clad superstar tossing grenades. It was perceived as an anti-war message just as the country was going to war. But amid concerns the message would be misunderstood, Madonna herself pulled the plug. Seemingly, it was a wise decision. The recut version was a constant on MTV.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really mean for the record to be provocative and controversial, but, you know, I feel like I've had many revelations over the last few years, and that I feel the need to express that in song.
Through scandal, reinvention, and redemption, she has always fascinated fans and critics alike.
She's what I call a true star. Even after all these years, I still am curious as to, I wonder what she eats for breakfast now. And that's because she's inherently interesting.
Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone was born to a homemaker and an automotive engineer on August 16, 1958. The family lived in an unremarkable suburb of Detroit.
I won't say that we were poor, but we definitely, I would say we were lower middle class, and I come from a really big family.
Named after her mother, a young Madonna worked hard to stand out in a family of 6 kids. Legend has it she would dance and sing on tabletops when the mood struck her. But tragedy rocked the world of this bubbly girl at a young age.
Many people know that her mother died when she was 5 years old. But what people don't know is just how terrible that last year of Madonna's mother's life was for Madonna.
At Adams High School in Rochester, Michigan, Madonna lost herself in theater and dance.
I was more of a dancing kid than a singing kid. I mean, I sang in school choirs and I sang in school musicals, but I was much more interested in dancing than singing.
Even as a teenager, Madonna Ciccone made sure she wasn't overlooked.
She would do stunts as a cheerleader that would, by design show her panties, or she would wear flesh-colored panties while she was doing cheer so that you would think she didn't have any on.
In high school, Madonna was a straight-A student, even then driven to succeed.
She was willing to practice a lot, study a lot. She wasn't a goof-off, and she didn't fluff up. She always worked hard.
That hard work landed her a dance scholarship to the University of Michigan. But 1 year of college was enough for Madonna. She was in a hurry to get on to bigger things. So in 1978, she arrived in the heart of New York's seedy Times Square with little money and no place to live.
I danced in a lot of companies in New York for years and realized that I was going to be living a hand-to-mouth existence for the rest of my life.
As a fixture on the New York club scene, Madonna got an influential DJ to record a demo tape for her that featured a dance track called Everybody.
People would hear me sing and they'd say, hey, your voice isn't bad. And I'd say, oh, really? I mean, I never had any training. I never wanted to be a singer. That's not how I started out.
The demo tape eventually landed in the hands of Seymour Stein, chairman of London Sire Records.
She was singing with all her heart, and that's what came across. I was in the hospital, so I played it over and over again, and I really, really liked it. I wanted to sign her immediately.
Everybody became a hit on dance floors, and in 1983, Madonna's self-titled debut was released. The single, Holiday, earned Madonna an appearance on American Bandstand and an infamous post-performance interview with host Dick Clark.
What are your dreams? What's left?
To rule the world.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Madonna. People would say to me, how do you know? When you say you knew she was a star. Wasn't from my listening, hearing, seeing anything. I watched the kids and they loved her. She had some sort of a kind of a bizarre outfit on. She looked different and she was different and they loved her.
When Madonna's story continues, how she turned a steamy video banned by MTV into a marketing coup.
For you to justify my love. Yeah.
Well, in the news.
By early 1985, Madonna's second album, Like a Virgin, and its #1 single had catapulted her to fame. It also established her as an artist out to push the public's buttons.
At the beginning of her career, she was always one step ahead of her detractors in the sense that she made a decision to present herself with a tongue-in-cheek sort of wink and a nod sense of irony.
In her critically acclaimed film debut, Desperately Seeking Susan, Madonna essentially played herself.
Why don't I get some pizza and I'll meet you at home?
You've got a place?
Not exactly.
You knew it was
I'm
real.
working on it.
You knew that she really was this sort of boy toy material girl.
On the set of her Material Girl video, Madonna met the man she once called the love of her life. Sean Penn was an interesting choice for a woman who loved the spotlight.
During this time in her life, she was constantly surrounded by the media and by paparazzi. And she loved it. She had worked very hard to this kind of attention. Sean, on the other hand, as he explained to me, felt that it was a real intrusion.
So much so that more than once Penn's fist landed on a photographer's face. But love won out, and on her 27th birthday in Malibu, California, Madonna became Mrs. Sean Penn in a ceremony off-limits to the media.
I didn't like the attention that, the focus on the state of our marriage. I like attention when it's about the work, but not about relationships.
And he didn't like it either.
No, he hated it.
And the critic hated them in the movie they did together, Shanghai Surprise.
Wait.
Their off-screen relationship wasn't faring much better. 4 years into the marriage, things fell apart. Madonna filed for divorce on January 5, 1989, amid rumors of physical abuse. The breakup left Madonna emotionally scarred.
She wasn't used to failures, so that was a bitter pill to swallow. It was very difficult for her.
In March of 1989, Madonna released a fourth album, her most artistically mature to date. It spawned 3 #1 singles, including the self-penned Like a Prayer. The song's video came complete with burning crosses and sexual innuendo, awakening the ire of religious groups.
Well, Madonna's always had sort of a love-hate relationship with the Catholic faith. A lot of what she was doing back in those years was to get attention. And also to make a certain statement that these really are just symbols, and that perhaps the Catholic faith is really about more than that.
The hype only added fuel to the fire of Madonna's stardom, a lesson the business-savvy performer would not forget. Her 1991 video, Justify My Love, was even too steamy for MTV. The channel refused to air the video, and Madonna refused to re-edit it. Instead, she made the video available in stores, where it went on to sell more than 500,000 copies. Her detractors saw the successful turn of events as a thinly veiled exercise in shrewd marketing.
I got the phone call the day that MTV banned the video, and it was not Madonna gleefully jumping up and down, saying, yeah, 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 they fell right into it at all. It was a woman saying, I've just spent 3 weeks of my life on this video, and now it might not get seen at all. And then she figures out what to do, and that's what makes her
a great businesswoman.
In the fall of 1994, Madonna released the romantic ballad Take a Bow, appearing soft and vulnerable in the video. It was her most successful single ever, staying at #1 for 9 weeks. At the same time, a transformation was beginning to take place in Madonna's personal life. During the filming of Evita, a role Madonna had lobbied after for years, she discovered she was pregnant. Her personal trainer, Carlos Leon, was the father. In October of 1996, Lourdes Maria Ciccone Leon, affectionately known as Lola, was born. At the age of 38, Madonna became a mother.
Every day I'm in complete wonderment of her.
Shortly after Lourdes was born, Evita was released.
Don't cry for me.
Madonna's work on her voice and her acting paid off. In January of 1997, she was rewarded by the Hollywood Foreign Press with a Golden Globe.
And the winner is Madonna Evita.
I just feel that what's happening to me is a perfect example of you know, if you just keep on going and you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything.
Coming up, Madonna gets spiritual.
Madonna has embraced the Kabbalah with a vengeance. It has apparently dominated every aspect of her life.
After more than 15 years in the public eye and almost as many incarnations, Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone emerged in the late 90s as a woman and mother in search of the deeper meanings in life.
I've studied Hinduism, I studied Buddhism, Taoism.
You believe in a supreme being?
Absolutely, but I also believe that all paths lead to God.
Madonna's newfound spirituality came through on her 1998 release, Ray of Light. Critics called the album the best of her career.
It sort of galvanized a great fascination, and people became really interested in what she had to say because they knew that she was saying something personal.
The new Madonna was a far cry from the hard-edged sexual expressionist of the early 90s.
Popular conception about Madonna is that she has reinvented herself over and over and over again, and it's often put out there as a pejorative notion in the sense that this is a woman who really has no identity.
You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. It's 19 years. Come on. Give the girl credit. She's a star. She's really, come on.
It's just a journey. I mean, I think she's just like everybody else. She's a work in progress. She just happens to be playing it out in front of cameras. In 1999, Madonna finally got what she wanted.
You win the Grammy. Let's say you win the Grammy. I predict. Your lips to God.
Ray of Light won 4 Grammys. Her spiritual rebirth had been validated. And 1 year later, Madonna announced she was pregnant for the second time. Guy Ritchie, an edgy British film director, was the father. Rocco Ritchie was born in Los Angeles August 11, 2000. At the same time, the title track from his mom's forthcoming album, Music, had planted itself on the Billboard Top 40.
I always want to write good music, and I always, every time I go in the studio, I always think, oh God, I hope I can keep coming up with the goods, and somehow it just happens.
Madonna's private life was also flourishing. On December 21st, 2000, Madonna christened Rocco and married his dad the next day at Skibo Castle in Scotland. The marriage wasn't a signal, however, that Madonna was ready to settle down entirely. In June of 2001, at the age of 42, Madonna hit the road, touring for the first time in 8 years. With guitar in hand, her Drowned World Tour hit 17 countries in 4 months. It grossed a staggering $75 million and drew critical acclaim.
Come on to my house.
Unfortunately for Madonna, critics weren't so kind when it came to seeing the pop icon on the big screen.
Swept Away was probably among the top 10 biggest bombs in movie history.
Wait till I learn to your captain.
It was yanked after 3 weeks, which frankly was 3 weeks too long.
Acting under husband Guy Ritchie's direction, 2002's Swept Away grossed just $600,000.
That's enough.
Am I gonna be a star?
Luckily, however, she had another career to fall back on.
American Life.
On April 22nd, 2003, American Life hit the stores, and Madonna, the pop icon, returned. But the disc struggled to reach platinum. Could it be Madonna's music career was fading? 1 year later, at the MTV Music Video Awards, an onstage kiss with pop protege Britney Spears showed the Material Mom still knew how to shop her way into the headlines. Following the renewed interest in March 2004, Madonna launched her reinvention tour, highlighting 20 years of chart-topping hits.
It was like the ultimate greatest hits collection of Madonna as done by a groundbreaking artist who's looking back and looking forward at the same time.
Ever evolving, ever changing, but most surprising is the once material girl's attitude.
There was a time when I was more thoughtless about the things I said, and I was rebellious, and I now feel differently about life. So just being provocative for the sake of being provocative, that doesn't really interest me.
What does interest her is a mystical sect of Judaism known as Kabbalah.
Madonna has embraced the Kabbalah with a vengeance. It has apparently dominated every aspect of her life. She's 1,000% behind it.
And she also added one more feat to her long list of accomplishments, writer of children's books.
Madonna's children's books have done surprisingly well. I mean, this was the woman who wrote the sex book, but here she is writing these sweet little homily-laden stories with nice messages about how you shouldn't gossip and you should do good deeds.
With a seemingly limitless career marked by constant reinvention, the question that remains is, what's her next incarnation?
If you just look back at all the female superstars that have come and gone in the span of her career, I think it's just not a safe bet anymore to bet against her.
I think I've arrived at this place in the world for a reason, and that reason is way beyond and much bigger than fame and fortune and being popular. It's about helping people, and I hope that I can do that through my work.
Madonna is certainly spreading the word about Kabbalah. She's even introduced Britney Spears to the mystic Hebrew faith. Spears can be seen sporting the symbolic red string bracelet of Kabbalah in her latest video. That's it for this edition of People in the News. Coming up next,